What is up, weather enthusiasts? I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor. Let's get right into the weather. Alright, so here's the situation we have for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have that one winter storm exiting as of right now, still bringing snow to much of New England and New York at this current point in time. However, it is starting to exit the United States as of now, but not before bringing quite a lot of snow to a lot of areas in Washington, D.C., in Philadelphia, and as I mentioned earlier, New York City. I believe they broke their snow drought happened over the last couple of years. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me on that, but based off what I was seeing, a lot of stuff has really happened. We still have winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings for a lot of these areas over here. I want to take a look at the winter weather advisory in New York City just to kind of get a glimpse of what we're looking at. Additional snow accumulations of around an inch and ice accumulations up to 1/10 of an inch. That's basically what we're looking at this current point in time. However, there is news trouble on the horizon at this current point, and we have an Alberta Clipper expected to emerge off of Montana and bring impacts to the Midwest and then into New England, as well as a few other threats that we're paying attention to, especially the freeze warnings that are currently in effect right here. The hard freeze warnings that are in effect from pretty much Texas all the way down to Florida. And if you don't know what a hard freeze warning is, it's basically like a freeze warning, except it's much more overkill, as I like to say it. Sub-freezing temperatures as low as 11 degrees. That's pretty much a hard freeze right there. And for the areas in like Houston, Galveston, Beaumont, Lake Charles, all the way down to over here in Florida, this is pretty damn cold to say at the very least. And they don't really get this. I don't recall the last time they had this kind of cold right here. I'm not sure if it was 2021 or if it was much earlier than that, but either way, it still looks really bad for a lot of areas. In fact, we have wind chill advisories and wind chill warnings, I think, for parts of the Deep South as well. We have a wind chill warning for parts of Alabama and Tennessee in effect right now, so we're going to have to pay attention to that. But in the meantime, a new threat is on the horizon. We are paying attention to this Alberta Clipper that is organizing and developing in Alberta, as it's usually named after. We have winter storm warnings in effect for parts of Montana to kind of kick off this whole thing right here. 6 and 11 inches of snow expected for portions of central and north central Montana, and this is in effect until 11 a.m. on Thursday, Mountain Standard Time, and it starts off around 11 p.m. this evening. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and time this all. We're going to start with the GM GDPS, then move it to the European, GFS, as well as all the other models we have. This is just a gauge of how we do this. We'll start with the short-term stuff, and then we'll start looking at the more long-term threats that we're potentially looking at. Short-term models have this thing starting to organize and develop and really merge together with another system in Idaho right here and start to bring significant snow to the Rocky Mountains before starting to impact a lot of areas in the Great Plains. We start seeing a minor Alberta Clipper start to organize and develop and impact parts of the Midwest. The Chicago area gets particularly hit hard by this. And I actually want to take a look at the snow accumulation from that right there. It's not going to be particularly that much, but it's going to definitely enhance the lake effect stuff that's already going on. We're looking at 2 to 3 inches for a lot of you guys in that area for the first part right there. The second storm that we have right here is already starting to organize and develop right there in the Dakotas, moving through Minnesota, Iowa, and then starts to merge with another low pressure system in Illinois, Indiana, and bring heavy snow to those areas right there, especially in Ohio and Kentucky as well, as this does start to organize and develop and bring more snowfall including on top of an already, a snowstorm that hit last night right here. So you can see those totals starting to really ramp up. It's going to really be impacting D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, maybe New York City again. They could see even more snow from this than they did last night. And that's pretty much the last we'll have of that system right there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the total snow accumulations of this as of right now. Now, we're going to be looking at several models for snow accumulation right here. This is just one model. We're mainly going to be looking at other models like the NAM Nest, The HER and the RAP don't go too far out for the Mid-Atlantic stuff, but they do go far enough out for like stuff going on in the Great Plains and maybe even the Midwest. So we will include those in this scenario, but things aren't going to be complete, all that complete. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. That's the GEM RDPS right here. Snow accumulations, they have a huge band of anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of snow from South Dakota all the way to New York. And I want to go ahead and zoom in on the Midwestern section of this to kind of see what we're potentially looking at. Now, keep in mind, some of the snow is from the first clipper, and especially in the Chicago area, like this is what we have, and then it adds an extra 5+ inches on top of that. But either way, it's still going to be bringing in really good amount of snowfall, and especially in areas near Rockford in northern Illinois, it's going to be bringing up to 8 inches of snow if the GEM model is the correct one. In parts of New England over here in the Mid-Atlantic, it brings Washington, D.C. another 2.5 inches of snow, but Philadelphia, and especially around the suburbs right here, could see anywhere from 7 to 10 inches of snow if this model holds, of course, and New York City could see another 5.5 inches of snow, and even in Boston, they could definitely see another 3 inches of snow from the stuff that already fell today. So we're going to have to pay attention to that as we continue to get more information. Now we're going to go ahead and show you the NAM model to kind of see what we're looking at as well. The NAM's not nearly as expansive as the GEM RDPS, and I kind of expected as such. We're going to see a bit of a fluctuation between the models right here. And another thing I want to take a look at is total precipitable water with this. Not precipitable water, but total precipitation accumulation with this. Let's go ahead and show you the GEM RDPS. The GEM RDPS definitely has pretty much anywhere from like 1/4 of an inch of precipitable water to almost 3/4 of an inch in parts of New Jersey right there. The NAM does provide similar precipitable water, except it's not nearly as much as in Pennsylvania, New York, and Massachusetts and all those areas. So what I'm thinking is going on here is basically from what we have right here, we're going to go ahead and show you the snow accumulations once again. This is what we have from the NAM. This is the GEM RDPS. What I'm thinking is happening is that the GEM RDPS is providing a colder snow, and what I mean by that is basically the colder the air temperature gets, the less precipitable water snow has in it. For example, if it's a 30-degree day and it snows, the odds are the precipitable water is going to be anywhere between 3 and 5 inches of snow per 1 inch of rain. However, if you get colder to maybe like 20 degrees Fahrenheit, the odds are it's going to be around maybe 10, maybe 15 in extreme cases, inches of snow per 1 inch of precipitable rain. So I want to go ahead and, as this thing's going on, I want to go ahead and take a look at the temperatures that we have going on, just for A, to make sure that this stuff will actually stick, and B, to see what kind of conversion we'll see between rain and snow right there. Precipitable water and snow at least. Here's the temperature that we have. Yeah, the GEM RDPS definitely is providing has a lot colder temperatures, especially in the Midwest, than the NAM right there. And it's definitely a noticeable change. A good change of like 5 to 10 degrees right there is definitely going to be the difference between a few inches of snow and maybe a few more inches of snow. So that's what I'm looking at right there. And that kind of confirms my theory that the reason the GEM RDPS is going with this heavy snowfall right here is because even though there's the same precipitable water, and it's about 5 to 10 degrees colder across much of the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic than what the NAM is forecasting. So that's what we have going on right here. And the NAM's precipitation type shows a similar setup as well. However, it's not nearly, it is equally as expansive, but it's not as cold as it is or anything like that, so we're going to have to pay attention to that. Next thing I want to take a look at is the RAP model. Here's the 15Z RAP. It actually doesn't go all the way out yet, so we're going to go ahead and disregard this in the HER until tomorrow's video. But if we go ahead and show you the GEM GDPS, it does show that right there, and it continues to show another expansive long-term track right here. Total snow accumulations, similar to the GEM RDPS right here, does show quite a lot of snow from Illinois to Pennsylvania right here. Let's go ahead and zoom in on the Chicago area to see how much it could be. The first system brings not particularly that much, maybe an inch of snow. The second one brings anywhere from 6 to 9 inches of snow across much of the Chicago area right there, if this is the correct model. Again, the GEM GDPS is also advocating for a colder temperature than the rest of the model, so we have to keep that in mind as well. But for the Mid-Atlantic, it is bringing anywhere in Pennsylvania in the more mountainous areas up to 15 inches of snow, down to maybe 6 inches of snow in down areas around Philadelphia and those areas right there. So I want to go ahead and take a look at the temperature. I want to go ahead and take a look at the European model to see what's also kind of shaking with that. The European isn't as expansive in the Midwest, but it is bringing some particularly big snowfall once again for parts of the Mid-Atlantic and New England over here. So we're going to have to pay attention to that. In areas around Washington, D.C., the European's forecasting another 3.5 inches, similar to what we were seeing before the GEM GDPS. Actually, it's around the same for that, but it's not going to be like the 6+ inches of snowfall across the state of Pennsylvania like we were showing. But one thing that we are paying attention to is maybe another lake effect event going on for the areas in western New York, like Lake Erie and Lake Ontario over here. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it as we continue to pay attention to this. And if we go ahead and kind of show you the maps of that, it does confirm my suspicion, at least to some extent, that we're looking at another lake effect situation over there. It's really typical, at least at this time of the year, but it's still something to pay attention to. But that's the European we have for you right over here. Next thing we're going to go ahead and show you is the GFS model. And the GFS, similar to the European, is not bringing nearly as much snow to the Midwest, although it is potentially calling for a lake effect situation to happen in Lake Michigan. The European has also been advocating for this, but at this current point in time, we're like, what, 4 days out from this, and since lake effect is such a very difficult thing to forecast, I'm not going to be regarding it at this current point in time. I'm going to wait till about maybe 24 hours out, just to get a better picture of what we're potentially looking at. But back to the GFS model that we have right here. We have what's going on right here. We're going to go ahead and show first show the GFS track with this thing. And the GFS doesn't have it nearly as strong as the GEM, the NAM, or the European even does until it gets to the Mid-Atlantic. But even then, it doesn't have it that strong right there, but it's still going to be producing enough snow for potentially up to a foot of snow in a lot of the Appalachian Mountains, as well as parts of Lake Erie over here, mainly due to lake effect. And even still, another good 2 to 3 inches of snow for Washington, D.C. and Baltimore are possible. Parts of Philadelphia could see anywhere from 3 to 6 inches if the GFS is the correct one. So we're going to have to wait and see how all this stuff plays out right here. We're going to have to pay attention to that. Just figured I'd show you all the models, just so you guys know what's coming up pretty soon. But one last thing I wanted to go ahead and take a look at and see what the GFS is going for, at least more long term. The GFS is having more snowfall in Wisconsin and Michigan once again, and as we continue to move through January into February, it looks like we are going to have some more minor snowstorms, at least for the next several days until we get to February. However, as of right now, it's still way far out, so we're going to have to keep a very close eye on it as more data continues to come in. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close the video out right here. I really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps us out, helps us make more videos like these. The goal of this channel is to get more people engaged with weather. And if you want to see the behind the scenes of this video or just ask us questions about what's going on with the weather, be sure to join us at the Storms United Discord server. The link to that is right over there. But with that being said, have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe.